Behind the headlines, women-owned businesses. The term certification is enough to put anyone to sleep, but it's critically important to help women-owned businesses grow, and here's why. Two small women-owned firms were looking to expand, one in construction and one in robotics production. But in order to land contracts with larger companies and the federal government, they had to be certified. That's where the Women's Business Enterprise National Council comes in. The council, referred to as WBENC, is the governing body that certifies a business as truly woman-owned.
We certify for both the corporate marketplace as well as for the government marketplace, and we also provide opportunities for those parties to come together in which to do business. What they're looking to do is to integrate women-owned businesses into their supply chains, and so they're looking to ensure that those are in fact women-owned, operated, and controlled businesses.
But neither the government nor private industry has done a great job. In 1994, former President Clinton set a goal that 5% of lucrative government contracts should go to women-owned businesses. Almost 2 decades later, that figure is at a mere 4%. WBENC not only certifies these companies, it teaches up-and-coming women business owners to become bigger players in non-traditional fields.
It's hard to plan out your products, plan out how to sell to women if you don't involve them in the process.
9 years ago, Lily Sarikas had a workforce of 2 and wanted more corporate contacts. Today, she runs 2 plants that use robots to package consumer goods for corporate giants such as Coca-Cola, which, in fact, suggested she have the business certified by WBENC.
The biggest advantage WBENC gives us is marketplace access. When they put on their events throughout the year and they're teaming us together with Fortune 500 companies, they are affording me the opportunity to meet with procurement people and decision makers who are actually in a position to hire us.
2 sisters, Sedalia Louise Akbar and Natalia Louise, needed help growing their family-owned business.
By being a certified business, you know that you are in a group of business owners and in a group of business leaders, among a group of business leaders. They are willing and happy to reach out and help you and guide you.
Sedalia and Natalia became co-owners of the family road construction business in 2008.
We obviously entered into the industry as leaders of this company at the start of what was an extremely difficult recession, and so the challenges have been instrumental. They've been large, but we've overcome them one by one.
They turned the 28-year-old firm into a $60 million a year enterprise. Government contracts were key to expansion, making their certification invaluable. Until recently, construction was one field where the number of women-owned businesses was small and never seemed to rise.
The federal mandates for certain industries that are not accustomed to seeing women in leadership roles to really open up a gateway for the women to get in leadership roles, but it's by their own device, their own hard work, that women can stay in these roles. It is not as a favor to their gender.
So Megan Byer, almost 30 years, and almost 20 years, and we're still at 4%, and we can't even get 5% of government contracts subcontracted out to women-owned businesses.
Well, you look at the Department of Treasury is something like 15%, and then you've got energy, which is barely over 1%. So you have some good guys and some bad guys, but sometimes, I was on the board of the community colleges in Virginia. We had 23 colleges. We always had building projects. And Governor Warner of Virginia,
now senator,
he had just left office as governor, but had a very strong mandate to beef up the contracts that women get. And I said, I want to see a report. How are we doing? And they said, well, there aren't any women-owned construction firms in Virginia. And so we don't have any. And that was it. That was the end of the day. But what WBENC is doing helps government entities and corporations be able to let a contract out based on subcontractors, because they're able to say, you know, these subcontractors are certifiable women-owned businesses, and even though this corporation that you're letting the contract to may not be women-owned, they're using 2-3 tiers of your money will be flowing down to those subcontractors. So that's one way of at least making sure that we're growing these smaller businesses to become the prime contractor next time.
Yeah, no, and to your point, Bonnie, the whole word certification not only puts people to sleep half the time, I can't even pronounce it. But I do think that part of the challenge is there's some of the requirements that lead to the certification are fairly stringent, particularly because women don't have access to capital the way you have to have had a thriving business for 2 years. You have to have reached a certain level of revenues. And oftentimes you have a great idea, but people don't want to give you either as a subcontractor or even as a third-tier contractor because of the lack of access to capital that gets in the way.
That's a serious problem. It's a serious problem for women. It's a serious problem also for minority-owned businesses. We have the same issues as well, and God knows if you're the double whammy, a black woman or a woman of color, it's especially difficult. You know, there really needs to be a lot more effort put in to make sure that every sort of T is crossed to determine where can we find these subcontractees, because I'm telling you, those businesses exist.
Yes.
And it's wonderful when you do find organizations that can link the two together.
And what I love about this is 250 of the Fortune 500 are signed up. So that to me says the companies that are going to be letting these contracts, they are eager to do it. And so, you know, to me, I'll take that as half a loaf. Certification, I think, is becoming much more in demand, because right now I just feel like we're on a tipping point where business is getting that women-owned businesses mean profit for them. And there's a company called Edge Certification that's now going into multinationals and actually certifying them as a gender-friendly place to be. And that's another way that certification is being used to advance women.
Well, I would question whether federal contracting is a mark should be our greatest indicator of success for women-owned businesses. A lot of women own small companies that meet their needs, that are their vision for how to succeed. That's the kind of thing we should be applauding.
Well, agreed, but the problem is that when you're starting a small business and you want to grow it quickly, there's no quicker way than a federal contract because they're so lucrative. But